Delegate Assembly, please come to order. Would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I don't see a microphone, so I'll do it, man.
Here.
We'll give you one.
I'll come around.
No, it's okay. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody. While we're getting a law enforcement report, please review the minutes and whatever else is in your package. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning. Thank you. Good morning, Century Village. Hope everyone's enjoying the summer. We've had some changes here at District 3. I'm going to introduce the new executive officer. He'll be accompanying me to the meetings and also taking care of the day-to-day business activities within the district, within District 3 for PBSO. This is Lieutenant Chandon Hood. He's been with the agency 15 years. Yep, congratulations to him. He's recently been promoted to lieutenant, and Lieutenant Monath, Eric Monath, decided to go on to another assignment. The sheriff's office is a big agency, and we have a lot of opportunities for people. So he ended up going back to watch commander, and he's also still the EFF commander. So Lieutenant Chandon Hood is going to be the new XO. So I welcome him, and he's just going to kind of watch how I do things here, because he'll be coming to me to these meetings in the future. So it's summertime. I always harp on the hurricanes, but this particular month it's really hot. So also be aware if you're out in the heat or if you're doing any activity in the yard or just outside enjoying the beautiful mornings that we have here in South Florida. If you're out for a long time, you need to drink water. Heat casualties we're seeing that. A lot of fire rescue responses to take care of people that aren't being mindful of the heat. It can really creep up on you. So be careful with that. Drink lots of water, replace your fluids, even like a Gatorade or a Powerade is very helpful. So I'll get through this law enforcement report. I know you guys have a busy morning. I'll start with the traffic report. So for the month of June, the Sheriff's Office conducted 77 traffic stops within the village, which is really good. That resulted in 97 citations issued, 27 written warnings, and 2 verbal warnings, and we only had 1 accident. There was no hit and runs. I know the previous months we had a couple of incidences. So just so you know, again, we come here every month and we tell you the same things, and not to sound like a broken record, but we are doing traffic enforcement in the village, and you never know when you get pulled over if the officer has discretion. You may get a warning, but you may get a citation. And I did receive a complaint all the way up to my office about a Century Village resident who was upset. He ran a stop sign, he got stopped, the officer issued him a citation. So please, again, remind your neighbors, drive safely within the village. There is no expectation that when we pull you over that you're going to get a warning, a verbal, you may get a citation, you may get a written warning, it all depends. But if you run a stop sign, you violated a traffic statute in the state of Florida, you are susceptible to being fined. The fine is a moving violation. It's $161. That's very expensive. And 3 points can be assessed to your license. So please, please drive with caution within the village. For our calls for service, we had 300 calls for service reported or called in, and 52 cases were generated. And we're going to go right into the cases of interest. There wasn't too many of those that resulted in issues. Again, the number one issue is fraud. We had 3 cases that I'd like to discuss with you. Both of them involve Facebook. Victim was contacted by an unknown person on Facebook Messenger, and he stated he needed money to fix his laptop. So after an Academy Award-winning performance on the phone, he convinced the victim to go to Walmart and purchase gift cards. We've heard this one before. And then she sent the claim codes for him for the redemption. The loss was $300. So the victim was so upset that, after this loss of $300, it's a different case. So, but the victim was very upset about that. So we had another case in Facebook. Now this is the victim who actually contacted Facebook. This victim found a page on Facebook selling pallets and DeWalt tools that she wanted to buy. So she was instructed to send a payment to Zelle. Does everybody know what Zelle is? It's that, you can use your cell phone to send money back and forth. Once you commit to Zelle, you can't get your money back. That's it. They warn you about that before you send your money, so be aware of that. The phone number she sent the payment to is no longer accepting her calls. So she wanted to buy these tools. She thought they were a great deal, but remember, nothing's for free in this world, especially nowadays. So she sent $250. So after she lost her money to this transaction for these DeWalt tools, she called back Facebook. Now, I've never seen a 1-800 number for Facebook in my life. I don't use Facebook that much, I'll be honest with you, but I don't know that there's a 1-800 number for any of these social media companies. They kind of don't operate that way. So whoever she spoke to on the phone to complain about her fraudulent loss, she ended up giving her banking information now, and that individual took her for another $1,000 ride. Yeah, I can't make it up. I'm just telling you this because this is real stuff. After the fraud, we had a larceny. We had an electric bike that was stolen from a bike rack. It wasn't secured. There was no lock. If you ride your bike in the village, remember, there's a lot of good people that live here, but there's some unsavory characters that come in here from time to time. And when they see an opportunity, they may take something that doesn't belong to them. We had one case of vandalism. A suspect had an argument with her boyfriend, and he caused damage to the emergency phone in the pool area. He was located, and we arrested him. Now, I also give you guys some warnings about visiting the local businesses. I don't know, every once in a while you hear me talk to you about when you're visiting the Okeechobee Quarter to be careful, because there's some challenging neighborhoods around here. We had a resident from Century Village 2 days ago. She went to the Wawa that's located right here at Okeechobee and Haverhill. She parked her car there, and I believe her car was running. I think she ran in for a moment, and there was 3 unsavory people that saw a crime of opportunity. They jumped into her nice car, and they stole it. So fortunately, she was on top of her game. She called 911 right away. The District 3 Street Crimes Unit got involved right away. Through investigative means, I tell you, I have really great detectives and agents. We were able to locate the car within an hour. Yeah, so we located her car in Gaines Park, which is in the city of West Palm Beach. And these 3, I can't use the kind of term I'd really like if we were in the shop, I'd use because thieves are horrible, and to victimize an 83-year-old lady and to steal her car. So these 3 individuals were consuming drugs in her car. They were on a drug-fueled use. So the Street Crimes Unit did a great job. They apprehended all 3 of them. They made an arrest. They recovered her car in an hour. So she was very thankful and very grateful. But I'm just sharing this story with you because remember when I tell you, especially during the holiday season, you have to have your head on a swivel, and you have to be always aware of your environment. There's people out here looking to take advantage of people all the time. And even I know it seems inconvenient because it's so hot and the air conditioning in your car. If you're going to go into a gas station, especially like Wawa, where there's so much traffic and so much movement, you got to shut your car off. You got to lock your doors. I know it stinks. You got to go in there. It's just that we live in a different world and a different time now. So I just wanted to share that with you. Just be careful. You can prevent a lot of these things just by being aware of your surroundings. Does anybody have any questions of us before we turn the meeting over? Sir, all the way in the back. I'll repeat the question. I can hear him. He wanted to know the stop signs within the village, if they're registered with the state. Yes, they are. There's been a traffic study that was done by the village through the HOA. All your street signs within the village are certified. They're DOT compliant, and we have permission from the HOA to write and enforce traffic infractions. Yes. Okay. Any other questions? Yes. Okay, you have a question about placement of the stop sign. Her question is, why is the stop sign behind the walking path? Yeah, you're probably driving. She's going. I think you're constructively criticizing how people stop at that stop sign. Well, you have to stop before the stop sign. Where the stop sign is, you have to stop. You have to come to a complete stop. Yeah, if there's a stop sign, you have to stop. So you can't roll through it, you can't creep through it, you can't go into the walkway, you can't, yeah, I mean, you just can't. And then, yeah. If, correct, if you see okay, if you see a pedestrian in the walkway or about to cross the street, you yield to the pedestrian. The traffic laws say you always yield to pedestrians. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. All right, we'll see you at the 1 o'clock meeting. Lieutenant Hood and Sergeant Newcomb will be there.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Are there any corrections to the minutes? Yes. Go ahead. Talk-
Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody is well. If you recall, at the last Delegate Assembly, I brought up the fact that when I read into the minutes, our esteemed chair of the advisory committee's opinion, it was omitted. It is also omitted on this set of minutes that I brought it up again. And I'd like to know if the revised minutes were prepared.
These are the only minutes we have right now, Ed.
Excuse me?
These are the only minutes we have right now.
Well,
I
it's
will
wrong.
I will note the change under your report.
It wasn't changed from the last report, and it's not changed on this report. So it hasn't been changed, is what you're saying. That's all. It's an important piece of information.
Okay. Anything else, Ed?
No,
All right. Could I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented? Made by George, seconded by Sandy Levine. Thank you. We have on the screen, we have our attorney who is going to give you a quick synopsis on what you'll be voting on a little later on, which is the proposed storm management agreement. Take it away, Rod.
Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry we don't have a video because I'm sure I'd see a lot of familiar faces out there because believe it or not, I've been your general counsel for 47 years. So that shows I am getting a little older here. But I want to talk to you about something that during those 47 years has been something very important to me and for the residents of Century Village. And it's the mundane topic of drainage. Which is important because the drainage system in Century Village, which was created back in 1968, was never fully documented on who's to own it, who's to maintain it, who's to be responsible for it. So by default, that function on drainage fell to UCO. And this was codified in a drainage management contract with the developer in 1999. And UCO wound up with the responsibility of maintaining the South Canal, which is the main drainage canal for Century Village, along with a dam and weir system that allows outflow to go into the Lake Worth Drainage District system, which borders on Okeechobee Boulevard. And this system, with the exception of the dam and weir reconstruction in 2000, to be quite honest with you, has just not been properly maintained. The canal is filling in. It is overgrown with vegetation. It's in need of a major renovation. And basically what I want to impress upon you today is that we have not been properly maintaining that canal. And we can no longer just kick the can down the road on having good drainage through that canal in Century Village. We never know when we're going to have a major climate event, whether it be a hurricane or, as they suffered in California, incredible rains. But we have to be prepared for that, and we need to renovate the South Canal. In 2017, as you remember, the golf course was being redeveloped, and developers were coming in to redevelop that into a multiple housing project. The developers approached UCO saying that as part of Palm Beach County's requirements, they need an outflow for their stormwater drainage system to get to the Lake Worth Canal on Okeechobee Boulevard. The shortest route to do that would be through the South Canal and then out the outflow. So they approached us and asked us, could we give them a drainage easement over our South Canal to do that, because it was required by South County. The developers at that time had a proposal in which they were going to have retention ponds on their development totaling 7.16 acres of ponds. Now that number is important because the more retention ponds you have on the new housing development, the less stormwater runoff that goes into our South Canal. So we said, well, we need an engineering study. We want to make sure that you're not going to flood Century Village. So we retained an engineer, a civil engineer, a drainage expert, Jordan Nichols, and we asked him to do a study. He looked at it and did a study of the outflow, what it would do to Century Village, and he concluded in a written report in 2017 that storage was not a problem, that the South Canal, once properly renovated, would have plenty of capacity to handle any runoff, stormwater runoff from this development. That development was never built. And for several years, it just, as you know, the old golf course just lay dormant. Then this year, Coulter Homes came to us, a different developer, same name, Reflection Bay, and they were proposing to build 621 townhomes on this development. But in their proposal, they were going to increase the number of retainage ponds to 12.61 acres. In other words, they were going to have greater capacity to store their own stormwater runoff and thus less runoff into our South Canal. But they were confronted with the same problem. They needed a drainage easement for that runoff through the South Canal and into the Lake Worth Drainage District system. So they come to UCO and they say, we need this drainage system. And we began 4 months of negotiation. I can't tell you how many drafts of the contract we went through. But at the same time, we wanted other assurances on what the cost of the renovation would be. And so we retained another engineering firm. They are Simmons and White. And we've recently got their report basically saying minimum $1 million to renovate the South Canal, maximum $1.5 million. Now that number is important because in our negotiations, we were telling Coulter Homes, if you want to dump your stormwater into the South Canal, you got to pay for half the renovation. And therefore, we needed a number, minimum, maximum as to the cost of that renovation. We now have that number, 1 million minimum, 1.5 million maximum. So we sat down and we negotiated a contract, a proposed contract with Coulter Homes. And in that they agreed they will pay for 50% of the South Canal renovation up to $750,000, which is more than sufficient to cover the high end of the estimate to renovate the canal. We also said, look, you're going to have 621 homes, and they're going to be using our outflow in perpetuity. So we want, once that community is built, we want them to contribute 15% of our ongoing maintenance costs for the South Canal beyond the renovation in the years to come, and contribute that to UCO so that, you know, they're paying their fair share for their own drainage. They agreed to that. And then finally, we discovered that there is a tidal problem with the outflow to the Okeechobee Canal, UCO is supposed to own that, and we thought we did, but there was a mistake in one of the developers' deeds to us that did not include that short canal section. So the third thing we wanted from Coulter Homes was for them to go in and what we call file an action to quiet title, so that we, UCO, would for sure have a court determination that we own that section and we have clear title to it. And they agreed to all of that. So now we're down to a drafted contract that all the lawyers have agreed to, in which the Coulter Homes would pay for 50% of the South Canal renovation. We would have an ongoing source of revenue from the new homes being built on the golf course, and we would get clear title to the dam and weir system close to Okeechobee Boulevard. So now we have a proposed contract presented to you, which the Delegate Assembly needs to approve, and which I highly recommend that we do approve it. If you read my the summary of this, as my reasons for that recommendation, and that is whether we sign this contract or not, we still are obligated to renovate the South Canal and pay for 100% of it. With this contract, we're going to renovate the South Canal, and the developer is going to pay 50% of it. I think that's a good deal for the residents of Century Village, and I would hope he would adopt this proposed contract. Any comments, Bezir?
That's it, right? Good?
Why not let them pay for all of it?
Sir, if you want to comment, no, sir. If you want to comment, please come down and talk to
There's
the
a
mic.
microphone
It's
back.
a little tricky with Zoom, okay?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Richard.
Okay.
I'd like to know how come you don't let them pay for all of it if they need the right of way.
Sir, there's somebody on the microphone. Could you
No, I
please
want
wait?
you, John, would you please repeat the question once they give it?
I didn't get through yet.
He
The
hasn't started.
contract says on page 1 that UCO has already hired an engineering firm. I believe you said that was Simmons and White. The second page says that after the contract is signed, UCO shall spend up to $300,000 to retain an engineering firm to do the same thing. So are we going to get two opinions, one before and one after?
Not quite. Was it a comment about the $300,000 soft costs?
Yeah. Here, I'll dig it up. It's not in your, it's in recitals. B, page 2 of 9, 3B. During the pre-construction phase, UCO shall use up to 150 plus matching to retain engineers to prepare a study of the needed South Canal renovations. That's on page 2. The page 1 just said we've already hired a firm to do the same thing, if I am correct in my interpretation.
Joanna, if the question is about the $300,000 in soft costs, that's part of the split. In other words,
Yeah.
150,000, that's developer cost, and the other 150 is UCO's cost.
Right.
That's part of the whole 1 million to 1.5 million
That's,
as the max, and that's included in all that.
yeah, it's not, my question is, are we hiring another firm after? Jesus, as I read that, page 2,
Ron, if it's okay with you,
Poster.
I'm gonna answer Dr. Handelsman as best I can.
Okay.
Dr. Handelsman, I think the answer to your question, the first part of your question is, there will be a more comprehensive engineering study should we sign. Half will be covered by the other side.
okay.
All
I
right.
know that. So we're going to get two reports. One we already had, well,
One will be further in depth.
yeah.
Okay. The first one was an impact study.
All right,
Okay.
my
Thank you,
sec-
Doctor.
my- well,
Yes, go ahead, Phil.
Phil DePaul, Wellington D. My question is, the 15% after all the work is done, once the developer pulls out of the development when it's completed, are the residents, the HOA or whatever they're going to be called, are they still going to be responsible?
Yes, that's going to be in their governing documents that they have to pay it.
There's no way they can back out of it, right?
Yes, I understand the question. It's a good question. And I was real concerned about this. So what I wrote into the contract was the actual word verbatim of what this new community's declaration of restrictions is going to have recorded and thus govern their community. And in that, I wrote specifically 15%. I set out the budgetary process. I said it has to be paid and will be enforced on liens on the 621 townhomes if they don't pay. And UCO would set the budget, and they can't amend this provision out of their declaration without UCO's approval. So we have covered that base.
The reason I asked is because there was supposed to be a golf course there in perpetuity. There is no longer a golf course there.
Yes, I understand that. The Palm Beach County has basically, through the previous hearings, have said they don't have to have a golf course.
Okay.
That train has kind of left the station. There's no more fight left on that one.
Sir, go ahead.
My question is, how come you don't let the developer pay for it all? If they need the right of way, you have them in your hand a little bit. So why let them not pay for the whole thing?
The developer has to pay its share.
I'm not finished. If you don't give them the right of way, what are they developing?
If we don't give them a drainage easement for their runoff, I don't know what they would do. I do know they have other alternatives. They're simply more expensive to get an outflow into the Lake Worth Canal. But I'm not privy to the developer's detailed plan, so I could not tell you what they would do.
That would have to be looked into. Because I would say let them pay for it all.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
I had somebody here. Go ahead, Olga.
are you done, Richard?
You mentioned ownership of the canal in question. Were you talking about the South Canal or the North Canal?
South Canal.
You're saying that
South
the
Canal.
ownership of the South Canal is in question, correct?
Parts of it.
And then you're saying that we should create a situation where we take title of the South Canal and make sure that it becomes our responsibility without question. Is that correct?
You want to answer?
Not
Donald?
quite. We have title to the South Canal. What we don't have title to is that narrow little outflow canal to Okeechobee Boulevard where the dam and the weir are located for the outflow. That's the portion where title is a problem.
So once we take title to that, we're going to become fully responsible. But as long as the title is in question, it becomes a situation where we're going to argue who's going to pay, correct?
No.
Yeah, that's basically correct. I mean, we need title to that because we have signed a contract with management to be responsible for maintaining the dam and weir outflow. So we need title to that to properly do that.
But if we don't, it still becomes a question, correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
If we do not, it still becomes a question of who's responsible. You say we have to do certain things, but nobody's tying our hands or forcing us.
You're still responsible, Olga.
Yeah, we're still responsible even though there's a title problem. I mean, that's the contract we signed with WPRF clearly states that we're responsible for the maintenance, operation, and continued administration of the dam and outflow into the Lake Worth Canal. And let me point out, over the 47 years I've been working on this project, no government, no other entity, no developer, no other person has come in and said, oh, we'll take over all the costs and expense of maintaining the canal system in Century Village. Nobody wants it. If nobody wants it, we're going to have to do it because we can't just let it stay as it is, which is kicking the can down the road and not renovating the South Canal. It's going to have to be UCO or it's not going to happen.
I want to comment.
Unfortunately, we have too many unknowns at this point if we have a real serious hurricane
Yep.
where these situations cannot contain it, and we have an overflow and flooding Century Village. Who's going to be responsible then? Us.
Oh.
That's a problem.
Go ahead, Donald wants to answer your question.
You're absolutely right, Olga. These canals are designed to keep our homes dry and to keep our cars dry. We own this problem regardless of who pays for it. You can turn this thing down today, but we will be dredging that canal and settling the Title I that we already are. There's a duty of care there. So it's a matter of, do we pay for all of it, or do we pay for part of it?
We could also ask Coulter to pay a little more and take a little more responsibility. And 15% of the maintenance, how about 50% of the maintenance instead? Think about it.
All right, Richard, you wanted to finish what you were saying?
Well, I want to follow up, I was going to say this anyhow, on what Olga just said. Coulter is limited to 4.81 cubic feet per second of drainage. Until I see the engineering report, what percentage of the total drainage is 4.81 cubic feet per second? Is it 15%? Is it 10%? Is it 80%?
When you get the engineering report, maybe you'll have that answer.
I think that Coulter should pay for the maintenance after renovation, a percentage that is commensurate and proportional and equal to their percentage of the drainage through the canal.
Richard, we have 7,854 units. They're going to have 620.
But do all 7,800 drain through the South Canal?
We all go down
See?
south. Water flows south.
Down. All right, I would like to see the percentage.
When we get the engineer's report.
Engineering report.
Ed, you had something to say?
Yes, I have a few things to say. The first is that we have fought the golf course for 100 years, at least since I've been here. The second is we're talking technical. I like to talk dollars. The reported purchase price for the land of the golf course was $36 million. Nice profit. Next, originally there were going to be 800 and some odd homes. Actually, originally it was going to be 400 homes, 800, now it's 700. When this project was brought to us originally, I asked what is going to be the selling price of those homes. It was going to be $200,000 to $300,000. I venture to guess you're not going to buy it for that. From an economic standpoint, I would say, just from what I hear going on, that it's to the advantage of the builder to use our facilities, whether it's X, Y, or Z. 700 homes times, let's say, 400,000 is a nice, tidy profit. If it is evident that the builder wants to use ours, why? I could tell you one thing, time. Because if he doesn't use ours, it's going to take him much longer to build, and the market's hot. I would say that unless what the dollar amount that's being proposed is nickels and dimes, certainly if the builder wants to use our facility, pending whether it makes sense from an engineering standpoint, the pittance of paying a few $100,000 here and there is nothing. I think we deserve several million dollars to consider this. This is an economic advantage for the builder. We spent a lot of money and time over the years, 5,000 postcards. Those of you who don't know that.
All right.
I think it's a win-win situation. Originally, a few months ago, they offered us $250,000. I consider that an insult. I
right.
think we should get
Ed-
an appraiser
Ed-
and get an appraiser's estimated value of what turning over our facilities is worth. And I'll bet you a dollar to a nickel or a nickel to a dollar, it's worth a lot
Okay.
more than the couple of $100,000 we're talking about.
All right, Ed, I'm going to ask you to please stop. We're going to let Rod go.
Well,
We-
I'd like Rod to answer. One, what would the builder do if we didn't agree?
He doesn't know.
Okay, I heard the
All right,
question.
two.
Let me respond to two things.
Two,
Okay, first of all, the 15% of the share of the new HOA is statutorily controlled. And what the legislature has told us, these kind of contracts must be, quote, fair and reasonable. When you look at 7,854 units on one side, 621 units on the other, we came to a calculation basically based on the law and also on what the engineers were telling me, that 15% will meet the fair and reasonable test. That's why the 15% is used for the future maintenance. The second thing that I want to point out is that we have negotiated with the developer for 5 or 6 months, almost 6 months. And in my opinion, this is the best deal we can get. We are at a point where we either agree to sign the contract or the deal is off. And I think we're at that point. So I think you need to take that into consideration on your vote today. If you think you can negotiate a better deal, in my opinion, I don't think that's in the cards.
well, Mr. Tennyson, I think we should try.
Okay.
We're not talking nickels and dimes, and the basic question is if we don't agree, it appears, unless I'm wrong, that they would have to go to an alternate method.
All right. Ed, please, I'm going to stop you because we're going to bring this up to a vote, and Joanne needs 5 to 10 minutes so that the delegates can make a vote one way or another. So questions are going to be stopped. Thank you, Rod. We'll let
Thank you,
know.
guys. I'm here if you need to call me back.
I've been
Okay,
up here
thank
for
you.
10 minutes.
Faustar,
Hello?
I'd
Signing
make a
off.
motion.
Take care, guys.
That we-
Bye-bye.
Hello?
I make a
I've been up
motion.
here for 10 minutes,
Go ahead, ma'am.
and now that the attorney has run away, wasn't it attorneys who are responsible way back when for getting the title on this piece of land or whatever it is? Wasn't it their
Technically,
responsibility?
yes.
Okay, and so now we're just gonna, okay. The other thing was, just kind of wondering, why didn't the attorney say the Pledge of Allegiance? Doesn't that go to character?
Okay. Ma'am, thank you for your comments. We have a quorum of 118 people. So that's why I need to move this along so we can vote, because if we lose a quorum, we're not going to be able to vote.
I move
you have
that
to do,
we
let me know.
accept the agreement.
Yes, I'm going to ask we need a motion to either approve, we have a motion by Richard to approve the agreement. I need a second on it. All right, seconded by Joyce Reese. All right. I guess you have a question?
I just want to remind everybody that once upon a time, about 4 or 5 months ago, the delegates, you, took a vote and decided to turn down and not give them the option of the drainage system. So I want you to think about that before you vote, okay? You turned it down once, so think about it seriously as to what you really want and how much responsibility you want to take in the event that we do have a serious flooding.
You're responsible. Okay.
Hello, I live in
Yes,
Gulf's
ma'am.
Edge, and what people don't realize is that next to us is tents, criminals, people coming in from all sides. It's very good for someone that's on the other side to give ideas. But people that are living near the Gulf Edge were looking for something normal to be happening and to have normal neighbors.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I have a question as far because what Olga said, if we agree to this, we're for life attached at the hip with them. For $1.5 million, 7854 units, it's less than $200 a unit. And we don't have to be. We can stay independent of our control of the water because the water is so high in the canals and the erosion now already without their water. And also, if they have their water that can enter into our canals and the lakes, do we have to worry about the chemicals that they're putting in their land that's coming into our lakes with the wildlife and the fish?
That's why they have their own retention pond.
So none of their water, it can go to the South Canal and out, but it doesn't come into our canals.
Well, they're going to do their best. Okay? I'm sorry. There's no such thing.
No, I agree with you, and that's
You know,
my concern.
You
I'd
want
rather not
you
be
want you
attacked.
want somebody to tell you that it's 100%. Nothing is 100%.
No, and you got, when the townhomes, it's just like, look at all the different associations and every time a board changes here. You got an association now over there instead of one owner or a management company that handles the whole thing, and not when you have an HOA. They're much more lenient than a condo association.
Fausto, can I
Go
jump in
ahead.
on that one? I hear what you're saying, ma'am. My understanding of this agreement is, first, there is historical drainage, and that's not going to change. Our drainage is connected to that property's drainage, and we're not able to cut them off. Nor would we want to. You want drainage to flow, right? What this agreement is for is, my understanding of it, is it's for the 100-year storm. They're supposed to keep every bit of their water on their own property unless the flood that Noah had shows up. And then this is a safety relief valve. And where it goes is the water goes into the South Canal and then proceeds into the South Lagoon and from there into Lakeport's drainage district. That drainage already exists. As a matter of fact, we just dredged the north-south leg. If you look from Okeechobee Boulevard, that's what we're dealing with here. I hope I answered some of your question.
Well, one of them, because the big pipe, it comes right underneath a gazebo. And it
Yes,
goes
in Dover,
directly-
absolutely.
That's right.
Now, that particular drain has what's called a stop valve on it, right?
One-way valve.
Yeah, one-way valve, and it's to keep water from going the other direction. So water can only go out, and it goes directly into the main waterways, which
Okay.
that's really not a concern. Our main waterways can take a lot more water. Right now, what you see out your window is the most water you'll ever see all year. And I would say you take double that before you even have to worry.
Worry?
It's the canal we're most concerned with.
We've lost probably over 10 feet of our land. It's disappeared. It's
No,
now
I don't
water.
think that's the case, ma'am, but I'd be happy to take a look. Remember, we did shoreline restoration about 15 years ago.
And is the water over that now?
It just lapping, where you live, just lapping up to it, yes.
That's right.
Yep. And that's seasonal, right? That goes up and
No.
it goes down.
No, it's never been this high.
No, it's about it. Like I said, it's as high as you're going to see all year because of the rain.
It's just like the sailing club. They have to keep redoing the sand because their beach disappears.
Of course.
Water goes up and comes back. Look how far that base is, and that's gone.
And look, you may not have lived here before we started our reclaimed water agreement, where we actually take in water from the county. When I was a kid, I could almost walk across that lake.
That's correct, except the environment, the world has changed.
Exactly
Yesterday,
right.
we hit a record world high in temperature,
Yes, it is.
which is a record high ocean temperature, which brings the hurricanes.
Okay. I'm waiting for Joanne. Go ahead, Ed, you got something to say?
Yes, I do. Mr. Tennyson, I agree, is a learned lawyer. He's been here 105 years, basically. You could say if was a problem when it was a problem, why wasn't it taken? That's yesterday's news. But part of his answer to my question, well, if you could do better, do better. I don't see that you have to make this decision today. There's been some valid questions about what we're not getting from an engineering. If we don't know that, who's going to pay the 15% afterwards? You could be buying a lawsuit. I would suggest that we have a professional negotiator sit down with them and see if this, what I keep calling, well, originally I called it bupkis, but it is bupkis, that they're offering us. This is a commercial deal. It's been around a long time. I think it deserves another bite at the apple. We started at nothing, 250,000. Now you don't know what you're even going to get after all these expenses that we're paying. Why? It doesn't make sense. I say we turn it down now. Olga brought it up that it was unanimously turned down by a much larger delegation that we have here today, and take another shot.
All right. We're up? What are you gonna do, 3 minutes? Hold on. Once I give you the signal, you'll have 3 minutes to vote. Make sure you use your clickers. Lawrence, how many people left the building? 2. We don't have a quorum. I know. Sorry, Joanne. All right. No vote. I got to tell you, I'm very disappointed on people that waste other people's time. Okay, we go on to new business. I'm sorry? Probably not, but that's okay. I need to go on to new business. David Israel has appointed Kelly Jensen to the executive board, and it has to be approved by the Delegate Assembly. So, should we use the clickers? We can't even do that. Oh, wonderful. I apologize. All right, we'll go to officers' reports. Stuart, you're up.
Did we do a vote?
There's no vote. We have no quorum.
The quorum is...
There is an impression out there in Century Village and WPRF that if somebody has a problem, they rush to UCO and we will resolve it. Well, that's not the case. In the last month or so, we've had many new unit owners and some old unit owners coming in and asking us to do things for them, which we cannot do. It is the responsibility of the association to deal with that. But they tell us they can't solve their problem because the president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer picks their bodies up and goes north, and when they get up there, they don't answer the phone when people call to get help. And that stinks, and it should not happen. If you're going to run your association, get somebody who's going to be around to make the decision. And we feel very sorry for these people who come in with almost tears in their eyes, and they want to have a resolution, and we can't give it to them. And it's the concept that if a person is elected as president, you're supposed to go ahead and prepare for any eventuality, which means that you're going to have somebody in your association that's going to be there in order to make decisions for people who have problems. And this is not happening. And we at UCO can't do anything about it. And it seems as if associations of people who live here say, oh, go to UCO and they'll solve your problem. Well, we can't. It's the association that is responsible. And I suggest the next time you have elections that you get a commitment from people who are going to be appointed as or elected as president or officers, that if they leave because they have a house in the north and they want to get out of here just for a change of pace, that they're going to answer their telephone. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of unhappy people here, and it's not fair to the unit owner that they can't resolve their problem. So when you have your meeting, make sure that at least you get a commitment from somebody that they're going to be here to resolve the problem. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mr. Chair,
I'm in officers' report.
I just want to make a comment.
No, I'm doing officers' report. You're going to have to wait.
Well,
Tricia?
it's in regard to Stewart's. I'll wait, but it's in regard to Stewart.
You'll get your turn.
Okay.
Go ahead, Patricia.
Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry so many people are leaving. I just want to say something quickly about the agreement. I understand how people feel. I had my doubts. I wanted to see the engineering report too. But understand whether we agree to it or not, the cost, all of it will fall on us. We now have someone who's willing to pay a portion of it. If we don't agree with them, we're going to pay the whole thing ourselves. Is that correct, Donald?
Yep.
Okay. So, you know, we are going to get the engineer's report, and you can ask questions, but please think it through thoroughly.
Yeah.
Okay, getting off that now, I just want to say something about the transportation. I have people stopping me all the time outside, and to tell you the truth, I have a life like all of you, and I kind of resent it. I am there Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, although I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks. I'm willing to talk to anyone about it. I ask repeatedly, there are forms here at WPRF and in the UCO office. If you have a complaint, please put it in writing. The bus company doesn't want me calling them constantly and telling them over the phone. I email it to them so there's proof that there is a problem. A lot of those problems have been rectified. I'm riding the bus myself. If you have a suggestion, I'm more than willing to listen. I cannot we cannot change the routes because 1 or 2 people want to go to a specific place. We're here to help the whole community. So I can't just listen to a few people to changing things. We have made changes that were very good. We're still tweaking the bus schedules. And like I said, please feel free to come in the office, fill out a form, sit down and talk to me. Thank you very much. I wish you a beautiful day, and God bless you all.
Joanne?
I hope everybody was able to hear Rod okay. We're going to continue to try and improve on how we can deliver services using technology, and of course we have to take baby steps. So hopefully in the future we'll have more and more interactivity with outside people coming in to help us. But other than that, I don't have anything else.
Thank you for doing a good job. She deserves a big round of applause. She spends a lot of time. David Boaz.
Yes.
You're up.
Unlike some people who always fall in love with a microphone, I'll try to be short. Volunteers. Well, everybody that's here today saw a volunteer. I'd like to personally thank those people that work at the sign-in sheets for the delegate assemblies. Bobby Levin, Maureen Debeguer, Flora Simpson, Debbie Smith, Christine Perry, Susan Meskel, who is a new member of that crew. They are all delegates, They come here ahead of the delegate assembly, and they stay after the delegate assembly. It's a long day for them, and I appreciate their services. It's very kind of them to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Delegate-
Donald.
Oh, I have something else.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Delegate forms. We have several cases where people that come, the proper form is not, or their names are not on the form. If you have a change on your delegate form, a complete new form has to be turned in. You can pick them up at the UCO office, and they must be brought into the UCO office by someone on the board. Do not depend on your property managers to bring them in. They won't bring them in. That's where some of the confusion is. People say, I gave this to XYZ company to turn in. They don't get turned in. Please bring it in yourself. You have to have that updated by noon on Wednesday before the delegate assembly so you can participate to vote. And as always, remember that 9:30 is the cutoff for sign-ins to enter the delegate assembly. We don't extend it. Everybody else is here before 9:30. You should be able to get here too. And that's the longest I spoke for a long time. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Donald, you're up.
All right, good morning, everyone. I actually had summer condominium administration at the bottom of my list, but hearing how frustrated Stu was and kind of sent a chill down my spine, I put it to the front of the list. Stu's frustration is very well founded, and this is an old story in Century Village where most of the boards decamp for the summer. Meanwhile, business has to go on. You have sales, you have rentals, you have all kinds of things going on. There's no longer any excuse for a board to go AWOL. You just saw Joanne bring Zoom into a meeting of this size, and it worked pretty well. There's no reason why your boards can't avail themselves of the same technology to do business. Your property manager, and most of you have Seacrest, can definitely help you with this. They've been doing it. Also, UCO can help. We have a Zoom-equipped conference room that any of you are welcome to use off hours. We could make meetings happen for you. You guys can, as board members, can delegate unit owners to do that are here, to do the legwork, to run back and forth to UCO and get things notarized and do your business. Please, if you guys need help with anything like that, please contact me, contact Joanne. We'll make that happen for you. And don't feel afraid to call your property managers either. This is their job to help you with this, facilitate. All right? That's all I got about that. The next thing is you heard about a bicycle being stolen. I believe that bicycle was stolen from the Dover area, and there have been bikes stolen from there before. The way this association handled it, with our help, is we provided a stealth cam. It's a very simple to use camera that works night and day, and it only takes a picture if somebody crosses its path. So you can put it on a pole, aim it at a bike rack, and you'll have a record of anybody that goes near the bike rack. If anybody has a bike rack that they think they want to put a camera on, please send me an email. I'll send you a link to an Amazon camera that's really cheap. It's like $27. It's as simple as to use. We're glad to help you install it. And all that needs to happen is periodically change the batteries, pull the SD card, and take a look at it on your computer and put it back. Well, we find that these little cheap cameras solve a lot of problems. Laundry rooms, bike racks, things where people aren't constantly walking by. And that's all I have on that. That's actually all I have, because I guess we'll pick up on the drainage easement thing next month. If anybody has any questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer. See. Yeah, come on up. Come to a mic.
There's microphones in the back.
Yeah, there's mics in the back. Come up. Ah, it's Louisa. Hi. Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. I just remember when I was patrolling,
Yeah.
I found a very new, I don't know how you call it, is the metal thing that goes on the wheels of the car. It was in the, I don't remember, I have it on my car. So if somebody lost it it got loose probably from the wheel, right?
Uh-huh. So you talk about a hubcap?
Yeah.
I don't know how you call it.
The cover that goes onto the center of the wheel?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
It's brand new. I don't remember what is the I don't know if it's Toyota or BMW, I don't know. But I have it on my car. If somebody lost it, I found it right here when you exit the clubhouse.
Okay. If
So
anyone's missing a hubcap,
I can leave it in your office if you want.
yep. I have Louisa's email, so, you know, if
Yeah.
you need it, just give me a call, all right? Thank you, Louisa.
Thank you.
And we'll see you at the security meeting.
Yeah, I'll see you.
Olga, did you have a question for me? Okay.
Stuart, you're right. It is a
Yes.
tremendous problem trying to get people to be responsible, to become delegates, to take over their building. No one wants to do that. And this isn't, it's in relation to the condo laws of the state. Maybe we have to sort of think out of the box and think about possibly changing the condo laws so we don't have the same system that we have now. Possibly, if you have a whole development, maybe you have just a small group of people taking over, rather than what we have as individual buildings, which probably about 1/3 of them do not have a board. So maybe it's time to just think a little differently. Talk to our representatives, okay?
Olga,
Thank you.
actually, you make a good point. You do have boards that just, they have a hard time. What you're describing really is consolidation. And that's happened. It's happened once in the village with Dover. Dover used to be 3 different condominiums. They became one. There's nothing stopping you and Joe Curzan's building from becoming one condominium. It could happen. The money's tricky because you guys have different reserves and different states of repair, but that can be worked out. It's something that's feasible. It can be done, but
That's all I want to do is put the idea in people's
Absolutely.
mind. That's all I want to do.
thanks, Olga.
Ed, you're up.
Hello again, and I'm going to make a very brief comment. And I'd like Richard Handelsman, who is the chair of the advisory committee, correct me if I'm wrong, but the UCO bylaws say we cannot get involved with the associations. But it also says if an association comes to us, we could help them. Now, I think a simple thing, and I'm not a lawyer, $50 gets you a representative for a arbitration. And I think it's well worth it if you have these problems. Getting back quickly to the meeting where we just lost enough people to vote on, I think it's incumbent upon UCO to move forward and get more information and appoint a negotiator. We're talking millions of dollars. As far as the financial report, it's the same story. We're losing money according to the books. We didn't have to, and I think the resolution has not happened yet to the ability to put money into FDIC CDs. And that's my story for today. Anybody who has any questions, give me a call. I'm not in the office every day because of a health issue, but I'll always talk to you. Thank you.
Okay, included in your package today, you were given an audit report. If you go through it, if you have questions, don't forget to ask them. Good. Ruth, give us a Yuko reporter.
Good morning, everybody. Your report is in the packet, and it only goes through May. Last month, I reported June. We had 2782 ahead. In this one, you'll see 700, but it's, what do you show? Oh, okay. We have an updated breakdown. We are ahead $3,740 on the Yuko Reporter. We are no longer with red ink. The officers have instituted new policies, and our collections are great. Nobody owes us money anymore. And I picked up a few new contracts this month, so we're good to go. I think that's all I have to tell you. I can't wish you a happy Mother's Day, Father's Day, so I'll wish you happy heat.
All right. I just want to bring, before we go on to the guests that we have on the good of the order, there's a situation that we're all talking about. You have a renter, or you have somebody that needs a certificate of occupancy, and every officer all of a sudden goes on vacation or disappears. If you're not going to renew someone's ability to live in your building, you can't wait for that person to show up with a new lease and say, we're not going to give you a certificate. You're opening yourself up for some legal battle that you're not going to win. I've been telling people, if you have an issue and you have a bad renter or a bad occupant, you got to give them at least 4 months' notice. I believe it's 120 days. And you notify the owner of the apartment. It's his responsibility. In the last 2 weeks, I have at least a dozen people that come in with a lease looking for their IDs because no officer will talk to them or they're not available. You can't do that. It's your responsibility. And if you don't want that tenant, you're going to have to suck it up for a year and then notify the unit owner and say, we're not going to renew this person's lease. You can't just get up and walk away. That's all I'm going to say. Anything for the good of the order? Go ahead, Mr. Plotnick.
Just one item has been bugging me from the report. We had a 99-year lease, and there was a word in that 99-year lease called perpetuity. What's going to happen with our contract and our negotiations for this canal with putting in that word perpetuity? I don't think that word means anything anymore. Thank you.
Yeah, I have the same question here.
Okay, go ahead, Dan.
Okay, yes. For years, we've been fighting the golf course thing. We went to courts and we had committees, whatever. And I don't know if you told the people that after we approve, there's going to be construction for 2-3 years, which is going to make a hell to the people in Gulf's Edge. What is happening with the change of heart? All of a sudden, love thy neighbor. What happened? We were fighting furiously for years against it. All of a sudden, I come here and we're singing the Kumbaya. What happened? Why are we cooperating with them?
There's no kumbaya. We have an attorney that is bringing you forward in negotiations that he's done with the developer, but the delegates here have the final say.
Oh, okay. So I'll just go what Olga said, that you think twice also about the construction of the people, especially Gulf's Edge, for 2-3 years that they have this hell happening. Thank you.
I'd like to address that term perpetuity. In the definition, we would expect it would mean forever. Unfortunately, the courts in Palm Beach County has changed that meaning, and perpetuity is limited. And that's the way it is, because some of the golf courses in Palm Beach County that were supposed to be there forever is not. And the courts have decided that there's a certain limitation on perpetuity. And that's what's happening here in Century Village also. So nothing is forever.
Commissioner Weiss, would you like to say hello?
Can I ask a question?
Sure. Go ahead.
I have two questions, actually. I was wondering how David Israel is doing.
He's recuperating.
Is there any idea when he's going to come back?
Don't know for sure.
Okay.
As soon as he feels better, he'll be back.
Okay. And I was wondering if you know if we're going to be considering the internet fees for
You're talking about a new Breeze Line contract?
the new Breeze Line contract that was put out months ago and then it was dropped. I haven't heard anything on it. Is there any status?
Go ahead, Don. I'm not aware of anything.
The last I've heard of it, and I'm going back a few months trying to remember, the committee didn't feel like that's something that they wanted to pursue. So at this point, there is no progress on that.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. Well, good morning still. It's great to be here with you all. Greg Weiss, Palm Beach County Commissioner and Mayor of Palm Beach County. And first off, just greetings. Hope everybody had a very wonderful 4th of July holiday. A couple things to update you on. One is on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, July 11th, the County Commission will be setting the millage rate for the upcoming year, which is actually it actually looks backwards. But so that will be put in place. That's going to be the maximum millage. And then we make the final decisions in September. So that's going to happen on July 11th. And then I want to just share a couple things going on. One is I have been appointed by the National Association of Counties to head up a task force or an exploratory committee on artificial intelligence in county government, but also from a policy perspective in terms of guardrails and issues and concerns. I want to mention that to you because as we were talking about fraud earlier, when the captain was talking about that, it's important to understand that there's things happening right now in technology that are moving ahead very quickly that is going to make fraud easier to accomplish. So be very, very careful what you do online and what you do on the phone, because they can make a voice that sounds just like somebody you know, and it's not that individual. So not to frighten anybody, but we just have to keep our guard up all the time. And with that, that's really all I have, but I'd be happy to answer any questions. All right, well, listen, I want to wish you all a wonderful day. Stay cool. It is hot out there. If you are out exercising, make sure to drink plenty of water and liquids and stay hydrated. And have a wonderful rest of July, and I'll see you back here in August.
We have Amy from Ann Gannon's office.
Good morning. I am Amy Ebersbach. I am from Constitutional Tax Collector Ann Gannon's office. I just wanted to tell you this morning about a couple of our publications we just have released, and I have left copies, so they will be in the UCO office. It is a brand new Welcome to Palm Beach County guide. What this is going to be for any of your new neighbors who are coming into town, they're not familiar with the county and what they need to do to get set up. It's going to be covered right here in this guide. What do you do about your vehicles? What do you do about your driver's license? Right here. So you can get those in the UCO office, or they can visit our website at www.pbctax.com. Now, we only ask that people request these if they're new residents. If you're a current resident, you still want to know more about the tax collector's office because, well, who doesn't? We invite you to request our tax planner and services guide. So thank you so much, and everyone have a great summer.
Thank you. We have our representative from Brian Mast's office. See, I remembered you today.
I try to blend. Now that we have technology hooked up here to Century Village, please, for all of you that are left, let your board know what federal representatives you want to hear from. Because honestly, as a visionary kind of guy, I would love to see a representative from Social Security talking to y'all. I would love to see a representative from IRS talking to y'all. I would love to see a representative from the Federal Trade Commission or any other commission talking to y'all about fraud. Just for the good of the order, and because of the fact that I'm a public servant and I love to serve. So if you have any ideas, please bring them to your board, and I hope you have a great and blessed day. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, tax appraiser's office. We love you. Property appraiser, I'm sorry.
Good
If
morning,
your property's
everybody.
worth too much money, it's Mike's fault.
Oh, well, you know, there's good news and there's bad news, I guess, always. But the good news is your trim notices are coming. About August the 20th, you're going to get a notice. It's going to be from Dorothy Jacks, and the notice is going to say, this is not a bill, do not pay. Okay, but don't throw it away. It's important for one real important reason. One, it's going to give you your valuation for the 2023 tax year, and it's going to tell you a proposed amount of taxes. Now, what we do is we set the values, and so if you look at the value and you feel like the value's too high, people make the mistake many times to say the proposed taxes are too high. Well, everybody believes proposed taxes are probably too high, but we can't help you with taxes, but we can help you with the valuation. So when you get that notice, the law allows you 25 days from the time that notice comes in to file a petition or to just talk to the property appraiser's office, call us up and discuss the value that that's been placed on your property. And if we have made a mistake or it's wrong, we'll fix it. Or if it's right, we'll tell you why it's right and tell you why we came to that conclusion. So look forward to next month and getting your trim notice. Again, don't throw it in the garbage. Hold on to it because there's important information about how you would be able to petition if that's what you want to do. Thank you very much. Yes. Oh, question.
Thank you.
Okay.
My neighbor has exactly the same apartment as I am, and he's paying much more. Now, is it that the value is the purchase price and you can change it a year so much percent, like 3% a year?
Well, the system of how they set up how much taxes you pay is certainly pretty convoluted over the years. Okay, you get homestead exemption, you get as much as a $50,000 exemption on the property, and then what's really important, the second year that you're homesteaded, you get your property value capped at a maximum of 3% or the cost of living index, whichever's less. So at the same time, depending on when a person files for homestead and how long they've had it, you know, when you match taxes to taxes, what you can do is take a look at the trim notice that we send you and the trim notice your neighbor has, and if the market value is the same, then we're correct, or you know, within reason, $1,000 or $2,000 in value within reason. But how much taxes you pay is very difficult to determine that, you know why. And the real why is depending on when you purchased and when you filed for homestead and how long you've had the property and how long it's been capped depends on how much taxes. There's another thing too, if you're a non-resident and you don't homestead, there's a 10% cap for non-homesteaded individuals. And what happens with them, once they've owned the property and haven't filed homestead, they get a 10% cap. And we've seen some situations where people have had a 10% cap for a while, and they say, I want to file for homestead now. And they file for homestead. What that does is it resets the market value. It ends up costing them more to file for homestead than to maintain the cap. So if you have questions about that, give us a call. We'll try to explain it to you. And I know it's a pretty convoluted how much tax everybody pays, but the valuation, the market value is the one number that you should be able to say, this is relatively close to my neighbors and about the same for everybody. Thank you very much. Thanks, Fozzie.
Donald, we like some of those. Donald? Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Oh, you want a freebie? Is that what you're looking for? All right. Okay. Thank you. We'll take a ton. All right. Anything else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I would just like to say thank you, Olga, for agreeing with me. It's not always happens, but thank you.
All right. Have a good month. Hopefully, we'll see you next month.